It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to Hump Day Hangouts. It is episode 55 after a brief 1 week quick vacation, if you will, but we're back with the full crew and ready to roll. So how's it going, Chris?
Hey, how you doing?
Hernan, how's it going?
Hey everyone, it's really good to be here.
Marco, what's up?
Hey guys, what's up?
And Bradley, how's it going, man?
Good, man, good. Glad to be back.
Cool. Well, we're going to roll with a little bit longer Hump Day Hangout for you guys today. Hopefully you saw the email earlier. And before we hop into it, we got a few announcements to go through. So the big one, hopefully you saw the email, went out about an hour ago. We wanted to give you a heads up before the Hump Day Hangouts of the Semantic Mastery Black Friday sale that's going to be available through Monday. So after I get done with the announcements here, I'm going to pop that link into the event page so you can check that out. But we got some pretty cool specials going right now. So
and just to be clear, that starts today. We're actually starting it a couple days early so that it can run through Monday. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, because I told Bradley I didn't want to be putting coupons in on Thanksgiving Day because I was like, I'm going to be eating turkey and having fun. So we're starting it a little bit early. So as soon as we paste the link in there, you can check it out if you want, or wait till after Hump Day Hangout and go check it out. But a lot of the courses are discounted. We've got network sales going on, so if you've been thinking about getting yourself an IFTTT network, now's the time. Get 20% off on networks, and I'm not sure if we've ever offered any sort of a discount on the link building, but we're given...
This will be the first time, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the first time, so a 20% discount on the link building packages, which is pretty sweet. So we've got that, and then of course we've been talking about Costa Rica. So we've opened up and gotten some feedback. We're going to have a live event in Costa Rica in February 2016. There's so much to talk about with this one. It's hard to get started. I'm going to drop that link in there. I'm going to let everyone talk about it because there's a lot going on here. But I don't want to just read the sales page to you or tell you everything that's going to happen. But, I mean, this is live training. It's in person. It's 3 days. It's at an all-inclusive resort. We're covering everything from, bringing in premium customers with funnels, local SEO. We've got guest speakers. I saw that picture. We've got live Q&A with ourselves, with the guest speakers, and we've got a brand new course coming out, which is, to use a little bit of a cliche, but it's going to be a game changer. Okay, so this is going to be something big for 2016. So I'm going to grab those links if you guys want to add on to that. By all means, I mean I'm just scratching the surface here.
Yeah, Max. Sorry to interrupt, but the main idea is that you get one-on-one time with us, not only for the teaching itself, which it's going to be great, but also for the networking sake of it. I think that's going to be also big. So we're giving, we are setting up some time, a lot of time actually, to actually do, the networking side of things and the networking side of things. So besides the learning, the tips and tricks, and the groundbreaking technology that Marco and his math scientists are developing, we also want to, really interact with you guys and discuss business ideas and whatnot. So that's something big in my opinion.
That's what I want to emphasize. Besides just the practical, like the mechanics of SEO stuff and some of the software that we're developing that will be released during that Costa Rica event as well. It's also just like the business building training, because that, again, I think that's what a lot of the training in our industry lacks is there's always like the mechanics or the execution of how to do something in SEO, but it doesn't teach, for the most part, business building principles. And I think that's something that we hear a lot of inside the MasterMind. People are grateful that we provide that, and so that's something that we're going to be going into in depth during the Costa Rica event too, is really how to do an analysis of each one of the attendees' businesses, where they currently are and where they want to be, and how to get them to that next level. And that's going to be a lot of one-on-one interaction with me for that part of it as well. And all of the team, I'm just saying that's something that I'm going to invest a lot of my time into, is actually working closely with each one of the attendees to make sure that we can get your business to the next level. So it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and the semantic mastery case as well. It's going to be out there. How we get, where we get, what we do, how we do it and how you can replicate it so you can have the same amount of success. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Definitely.
Awesome.
What else you got, Adam?
That's it for the big ones. We did want to say something quick about Video Powerhouse. We're not opening it up again. We filled up our spots, but we did. Well, I take that back. We didn't quite fill it up. We had some people who we had on talking to us who were interested, but I believe we have a few spots open. So it's not going to be on the Black Friday sale. It's not something we're offering discounts for. But if people are interested, I'll have to look. Bradley, I think we had like 4 or 5 spots, maybe.
Something like that, yeah. And we have the general networking, the general marketing network done right now, which is roughly 115 sites, 120 sites, somewhere around there. But we're starting on the first of 5 top-level category networks as well that we're going to be adding to, because I told you guys we're going to be building that out. And so I think the next network that we're going to start with is like travel and leisure plus like real estate. So essentially, it's a very broad niche. I understand that, but that's what we're going to do is create like 5 additional top-level category niche networks, so that there will be themed, at least relevant enough to where right now, like I said, it's just kind of like a general marketing because it's just open to everything. So we're going to start making it more niche specific, so that you can select which network you want to post your videos to. That said, we're probably going to start off with that one even as early as next week. We're going to start working on that, and we'll probably have that network built out in the next several weeks. It might even be open to posting before all 100 sites are in, because really we just need like 50 sites or so to start being able to take posting submissions, and then we can continue to build it out. So we're looking to open up at least the first of the top 5 level categories within the next few weeks. So if you get in now, I mean, guys, as we continue to build the networks out and it gets bigger, we're going to have to increase the price. There's just no question, because it's going to, it requires a lot of investment on our time to get up and running. But right now the prices are really good, and they'll stay that way, locked in if you lock in your price now. So and we're not going to raise the prices anytime within the next 60 to 90 days. So each time we open it up, you'll have that opportunity. But once we get enough sites in there and enough of those networks built out, you can expect that it'll go up. But anybody that has signed up prior to that will have their price points locked in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we got some exciting video stuff on the horizon. So we're going to be doing some case studies, integrating some services, and so it's going to be pretty killer. This is going to be some good stuff. So highly suggest you get involved with it now while you can, and then that's going to just kind of grow from there. That's all.
We're really moving into a lot more video stuff going. We all just met in Miami and had like our 6-month planning session. All of us except for Marco, unfortunately. But we had like our 6-month planning session, and one of the biggest things that we're going to be doing is moving really heavily. There's a few things we're doing, but one of them is the video marketing aspect of it, because just so much stuff is going to video now, and that's like the preferred way to consume content by most people. And so we're going to be doing a lot of that. So Video Powerhouse is one part of a larger puzzle that we're putting together, and we'll release more details as we can as we get closer to having those fully developed. So
world domination.
That's right.
Cool. That's all I think I had written down as far as stuff we had to go over. Anybody got anything else?
No, I think we're fine. Well, you have the link for the Video Powerhouse, or we need to double check.
Yeah, let me put that on, and then if it's filled up, if we get the last whatever, I'll have to check again. But we got a sign up list, so we'll put that on there too. Okay.
Very good. Sweet. All right, so I guess we can get into questions now.
Do it.
Let's do it. We got about we'll probably run to about 5:30, guys. So 5:30 p.m. Eastern, which gives us about another hour and 20 minutes, because we're going to go long today. There's no MasterClass today due to the holiday, so we're going to go long with this. So post your questions, bring them, in-depth questions. I don't care. We've got time to go through them today. We're going to try to wrap it up around 5:30, unless we're like in the heat of battle. So, you guys, go ahead and post them, and we're here for you. And let's get started. Jump in and grab the screen. You guys seeing everything okay?
Yep.
All right.
Yep, looks good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sky says, how important is link sculpting these days? If it's still relevant, How do you deal with less important pages on your website? For example, would you no-follow your navigation terms privacy links off-page when you were trying to pass authority from a Facebook page to your website? Do multiple links to other sources partially dilute the authority? Okay, there's obviously going to be some conflicting opinions on here about this. I'm going to give you my personal strategy, Sky, and what my opinions are about this, and then I know that Hernan will chime in as well. But I still think link sculpting is very important. I still do it all the time. For those of you that are unaware of what Sky's talking about, it used to be called PageRank sculpting. I guess it still could be, although that's not really a term that we use a whole lot anymore, is PageRank. Essentially, it's a way to no-follow and do, by using the no-follow attribute or tag to links, you can essentially sculpt where and direct where you want PageRank to flow, or link equity, you could call it, within the site. Okay, and so for example, almost all sites, and they should, have privacy policy in terms of service links, which are generally in the footer of the site. Well, there's no reason for those to be do-follow links. They should be no-follow links because you're not trying to pass any link authority or any link equity to those pages, right? So there's no reason for them to be left as do-follow. Same thing goes with like a contact page or an About Us page. In my opinion, there's absolutely no reason to pass link equity through to those pages. They're not pages that you're trying to rank and drive traffic to. So I always no-follow all links that go to pages that I'm not trying to direct traffic to, okay, or that I'm not trying to rank in the SERPs for that matter. So I always no-follow everything. I also no-follow all outbound links on money sites. I don't care what they're to, unless it's to another one of my own properties. But usually on money sites, I no-follow all outbound links, and I do follow links within silos. In other words, if I'm linking from like a supporting article up to another post or page within a specific silo, that'll be do follow. But if I'm lateral linking or horizontal linking over to another silo, then I'll always no follow that because I don't want to bleed the theme. So my opinion is link sculpting is still very important. I still do it. It's a practice. It's just habit for me. And as far as the off-page part of it, no, I don't think posting links to related content on like your Facebook page, for example, that's not going to dilute the authority coming back to your site because first of all, those are no-follow links, number one. Number two, it doesn't matter because it's the relevancy there that's important, and that's part of the reason why, if you guys are aware of Curation Mastery, which is a course that we created on how to curate articles, how to use them for SEO and for money site posts, for PBNs, for all kinds of stuff, curated content works so much better than normal like content farm type content because of the relevancy that you create by posting or sharing linking to relevant content, particularly relevant content that has high social metrics, high social activity. So as far as the off-page part of it, no, I don't. If as long as you're linking all the related or relevant type stuff, topically relevant stuff, then it's not going to dilute the authority. But that's my opinion. What's your take on it?
Well, I think that, I agree with you on what you say with link sculpting. So, I mean, Google will deem more relevant pages of your website on autopilot. I mean, just by the way it works. If you're usually when you're doing terms, privacy, you're pretty much. It's really hard that you get your own privacy or terms of service and whatnot. So you're pretty much using duplicate content, just changing a couple of things to refer to your own case. If that's your case, then yeah, no, follow them because they don't. They don't provide any value to the visitor, and usually I also no index them, so just to avoid duplicate content issues. So I don't care about building links to them, nor internally nor externally. Now regarding link sculpting, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because when you're optimizing your website, Google will rank better some pages internally than others. Mm-hmm. So the main idea there is to piggyback on those choice that Google has done for you, has made for you in the way that you can power up those pages to take them from page 2 to page 1 without building a single backlink. Just by link sculpting, just by doing more posts and linking back to that page. And the other part of your question, I would say that we have proven, and with RYS, we have proven that having outbound authority links and trust flow and page authority, it's a two-way metric. So having outbound authority links will actually help you increasing the metrics of your properties. So Facebook, it's a particular case, but if you're doing contextual like WordPress or Tumblr, the current IFTTT wheel, it's a two-way avenue for the metrics. So I think that it will actually help you rank and index better if you're linking outbound to authority links. So that would be my intake on it.
Yeah, and not just authority, but topical relevancy is the most important part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, for example, the standard SEO training that has been for the last several years has been, especially like PBN training, which makes me want to puke, is, go out and buy a high metric domain, slap a new WordPress site on it, and slap a content farm article on it with a link back to your money site, and boom, you're going to rank. That's how you do SEO now, right? And that's complete garbage because, number one, like the content farm articles, they're shit to begin with. Number two, you can smell a PBN blog from a mile away. In other words, if you come across a PBN site when you're surfing the web, it's a PBN site. I mean, it's so easy to spot. And if you think Google reviewers can't spot them, then you're crazy. You shouldn't be in SEO, And so, like, that's why we use curated content, because with curated content, first of all, you set up the sites to where they look like normal, like real websites and not just a standard like PBN blog, number one. But number two, we outbound link to, and pardon me for a second, but with the PBN training, people say you put a link to your money site, and then you put a link to a Wikipedia site or a .gov, right? That's what you always hear. And that's you need an authority link in your content, and that's going to make it even more stronger. That's bullshit. First of all, you should be linking to something topically relevant, not necessarily a .gov or Wikipedia, because how many times has that been done over the last several years? I mean, it's been done to death. And so it's better what we do is use curated content, and we'll curate pieces of articles or content, video, infographics, slides, slide presentations, anything that we can find that's topically relevant to the subject matter of the post. And then we link out using do-follow links to those sources from our PBN sites, for example, because now what we're doing is we're showing that we're linking to other topically relevant sources. It doesn't necessarily have to be an authority link. What I'm looking for is, number one, topical relevancy. Number two, social activity. That's something that I look at as kind of like a secondary measure of whether I want to link to something or not. Is if it's got a lot of social activity or comments underneath the post, that's something that I want to link to because of the activity. That activity will actually improve the trust signals of that post itself that also has a link back to your money site, if that makes sense. So it's a good question, Sky. I totally recommend that you still do link sculpting.
Hey, Bradley.
Go ahead.
If I can just finish this with one thing, and I'm always discussing this with the developers when we're working, is I tell them that we have to be master mimics. And whatever we do, the mimicry that we're trying to master is we're trying to look like all of the other sites on the internet that Google bypasses to look for the websites that it knows are, like you said, these PBN sites and everything else. If you can avoid that, if you can avoid triggering that flag, then you're okay. I mean, you're not likely to get a manual unless there's some kind of other trigger before that. It's very unlikely. And so if you can become a master mimic, which you can do that through curated content, which mimics what other sites are doing. I mean, look at Yahoo. It's curated content. You look at just anything else on the web that publishes news, right?
Yeah.
It's curated, and with proper attribution going back to the source, and that's all you do. Now you're a master mimic, and you're pretty much avoiding triggering any of those flags that will bring that closer scrutiny back to your website.
Right. And guys, some of the biggest, most highly trafficked sites on the web are curated content sites. And so, like, if it works for them, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for my PBN type sites, you know. So that's why, you know, we recommend that. By the way, I think Curation Mastery is in with the Black Friday sale stuff, isn't it? Just to kind of drop that in there.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Shameless plug. All right.
Which is a cool course. I mean, you could create a business around that course.
You certainly can.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, like, aside from the SEO part of it, you can create a content marketing business, which, guys, I just came back from the Internet Summit last week in Raleigh, and, you know, about 60% of all the presentations and topics were about content marketing. It's huge. Content marketing, I think there was a, I should have bookmarked the link, but there was a study that says by 2019 or something like that, it's going to be a $300 billion a year industry.
2018 even. Yeah, it was like in 3 years it's going to be $300 billion.
$300 billion a year. It's like, come on. So content marketing is becoming more and more mainstream. In other words, even small businesses and such are going to have to get into the content marketing game, or they're going to fall behind. They're going to lose their website or online traffic, because in order to get traffic now, content marketing has to be a part of your strategy, your marketing strategy. And so as it continues to pick up steam, you know, there's going to be entire businesses, which there already are, but it's going to become more and more so that more businesses are going to be created specifically to deal with just content marketing. And Curation Mastery is a course that can teach you exactly how to do that, where you don't have to sell results. In other words, you're not selling ranking, you're selling activity or service, such as blogging for businesses, which would be the content marketing aspect of it. And there's a lot of money to be made in that. So, okay, so I guess we'll move on. Chick says, I signed up for Video Powerhouse. I'll +1 that. Thanks, Chick. He says, I'm excited to get started and test. I was wondering if you could elaborate further on the service so I can translate what is going on to customers and prospects in terms they can understand. I assume everything else needs to be in place for maximum effectiveness, such as channel and video optimizations. Anything else? Thanks. Okay. What is Video Powerhouse? Well, Video Powerhouse is just a broadcasting network. This is something you can tell your clients and customers or prospects or whatever, is that you have access to a broadcasting network that you'll syndicate videos to, and each one of those sites that it gets posted on becomes an embed. You might want to dumb it down a bit for customers that aren't, you know, in the industry or whatever, but each one of those, in other words, each time that video is embedded on a property, it's kind of like a vote, right? It's like, hey, this must be a popular video because it's on this many sites on the web, and you have access through Video Powerhouse to a large network of embed sites, which will also generate through the IFTTT networks around each one of those automatic social signals and bookmarks, additional embeds, additional links, so backlinks, you know. So that's basically what it is. Do you guys, any of you guys, have like a specific elevator pitch for Video Powerhouse to tell to customers?
That's a good one.
Something we're working on because we have people ask us, and we developed it for several video uses.
Yeah.
So that's something we will work on getting better explanations for, because honestly, you guys, and hopefully some of you are watching who've, you know, interacted with me via support questions, you know, like, hey, how exactly does this work, or how exactly should I do this? And unfortunately, the first answer is kind of like IFTTT, how many, you know, networks to rank. It's like, well, test, and you let me know,
right.
You know, and that's why we built a network, was because we knew embeds were important, and we knew that embeds on quality sites with IFTTT rings around them was really important. But beyond that, it depends on what you want to do with your videos or what you're trying to do. So,
I can tell you from my own like interactions with video production companies, because, you know, I provide wholesale SEO services to a few video production companies, and all I do is I just tell them that I have like access, that I have built a network of broadcasting, video broadcasting network. That's what I call it to them. I call it a video broadcasting network, because I tell them the more places that YouTube embed code is placed, the more popular the video is according to Google. So we can spoof it, right? And that's what I tell them. I said, so I build these large networks that are themed, and then we post the videos to them, and it builds automatic backlinks, embeds, social embeds, and bookmarks, and that's what helps them to rank.
Yeah, and if your customers, depending on how, you know, savvy they are to the SEO terminology, you know, if they have questions about it, this is something you can be afraid to not, you know, share them. Be like, you're not putting them up on just crappy sites or orphaned Web 2.0s. I mean, this is a high quality sites that have trust flow, that have page authority.
Identities.
Yeah, it's not just some random new URL or domain on, that just got registered or something like that.
Yeah. If I were to say something to them, would be along those lines, Adam. Would be along the lines of, your video will be featured on many websites. Will in turn give Google signals that your video is popular, so that it will, be considered to rank you higher. And it will also get views and whatnot, because IFTTT links will also bring traffic to the video and whatnot. So that would be my intake on it.
Very good. Everything else needs to be in place for maximum effectiveness. You already said it, Chick. Yes, totally. I mean, I honestly, you should always take care of on-page stuff before you even start doing any off-page. So my point is, make sure your channel is optimized properly, set up properly, make sure that you're doing the proper keyword research, you're selecting the right keywords when you're starting to produce videos and upload videos or live stream videos. Make sure your descriptions and tags are good. Also, make sure you're using playlists properly, because playlists will give you a huge boost that you can't, with playlists will make less off-page SEO more effective. In other words, it'll take less off-page work to get the same results if you're using playlists properly, because you're just siloing out your channel, or at least you can use the playlist to silo, and you should probably already be familiar with that. But make sure all of that is done right first, and then when you start syndicating and using Video Powerhouse as a supplemental, that should really help you out. Okay. Also, guys, keep in mind, Video Powerhouse, again, is just a supplemental, because you should have all your own networks set up to your own channels anyways. In other words, like, you should have tiered networks set up to be fed by your YouTube channel every time you upload a video or live stream a video that goes out across your own network, starting with your branded tier 1, going out to tier 2. You can stack as many full 2-tier networks on that channel as you want, but you should have your own networks too. And that's because that's going to be the starting point. And then you can, once you've blasted your video out and it's syndicated out across all those sites in your networks, then you can go back. And what I like to do, instead of just blowing your Video Powerhouse credits, what I like to do whenever I do a new video project is I run them through my networks. Okay, so in other words, I just upload or live stream. I let it go through my networks, and I let it sit for about 2 weeks before I do anything else, because usually within about 14 days, the video will end up going to where it's kind of settles in at that point, to where it's going to be. And then if I need additional push, that's when I'll start doing the supplemental stuff. Because that way I'm not just uploading a video and then immediately going over to Video Powerhouse. And you always want to do as little as possible to get something to rank. That way you leave additional resources at your disposal in case you need additional push or additional boost. Does that make sense? So that's what I would suggest doing, is run them through your own networks and everything first. Give it some time, give it 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that, to see where it's going to settle in, and then if you need to use it, then go ahead and use the Video Powerhouse. And then there's a lot of other tricks that you can do as well. Okay. All right, next, Uwe. I haven't seen him in a while. He says, "Hey, Bradley, I wanted to ask a question for Hump Day Hangout. Do you have anywhere in MasterMind or MasterClass or somewhere else a special training for ranking Google Plus pages in the 3-pack of Google Maps?" Uwe, you're in the MasterMind, and yeah, we did a whole section on one of our MasterMind webinars specific to that after the 3-packs surfaced. In other words, once they got rid of the 7-packs or whatever, and it went to the 3-packs, which is the normal now, we did, I think it was within one or two MasterMind webinars of that happening that we did a big part of the webinar specific to that. So Adam or Hernan, if one of you guys can dig that up in the MasterMind replay section of the community. I know it was we did a whole section on that. So if we can find that, Uwe, we'll tag you in the MasterMind on it so that you can go view it.
I'll try to find it.
All right, thank you. He says there is a new software out there called MapsProspector, and they are offering some kind of mastermind for the second OTO for $147, where they show you how to rank the G+ pages in the 3-pack. At least they claim this. But I'd rather bring my money to my favorite go-to guys. That's us. All right. Yeah, I appreciate that, Uwe. But like I said, we specifically talked about it. I mean, there's no secret sauce, guys. It's just you just got to do more of the right stuff and less of the not right stuff. You know. I mean, we've talked about this many times inside the MasterMind, but A lot of it is just, making sure that you're using high quality links, high quality citation sources. You can use press releases, the IFTTT networks. That's important. Press releases, if you're using them, try to find press releases that will allow you to add schema.org markup for the NAP, the local business markup, because then that will get syndicated out as well. And many of the places will pick up and syndicate the schema.org markup. Some of them will strip that code out, but a lot of them will still show that now, and so you'll get a bunch of really high-quality citations from press releases that way. Tiered linking, link building to your citations. Okay, so your business directory listings, especially the do-follow ones, you can set up tiered linking campaigns for that. You can also use your IFTTT network properties to link to that. All of that's going to make a big difference. Okay. I mean, I don't know what MapsProspector has, but really, as far as I know, there's no magic bullet to it. There's certainly some tips and some tricks that you can employ and some black hat stuff that we could talk about inside the mastermind that it's going to give you an advantage or an edge, but it's pretty much just doing more of what works and less of what doesn't. All right, so hopefully that was helpful, Uwe. We'll get you the proper mastermind webinar for that, where we talked about that, and you can go through that, and if you have any questions, just ask them in the mastermind for that. Okay, Ed Ryan. Ed gave us a really good testimonial a couple weeks ago, and we're happy about that, so I'm going to +1 this already. Ed says, even though we don't syndicate videos from our Tier 2 account YouTube channel, when doing a Tier 2 Blogger IFTTT ring, and I'm in setting up the link profiles, link list gadget. Okay, so that's like the sidebar area where we list all the other profile links. And Blogger, which YouTube channel do I add to the blog? The one for the Tier 2 Blogger persona, or the channel URL we'll be syndicating videos from on our primary IFTTT ring? No, Ed, use the YouTube channel link from the persona network that you're creating. So if you're building out your Tier 2A network, which is being triggered by Blogger from Tier 1, right? Let's say John Doe is the persona at the Tier 2A network, and let's say Jane Smith is the persona for Tier 2B network, right, which would be triggered by Tumblr. Then you're going to use the John Doe YouTube channel that's created when all of those accounts are created as the link that goes into the sidebar of the Blogger. And then you're going to use the Jane Smith YouTube channel that goes in the sidebar of all the accounts in the Tier 2B network, right? That's being triggered by the Tumblr channel. So my point is you don't want, because you don't want to mix it up. You don't want to put a link to your main money channel, which is on Tier 1, in a Tier 2 profile link section. That wouldn't make any sense. All right. So again, the whole reason why we interlink all of our accounts together where we can, what we like to call semantic hubs, right, is because we're trying to tie that persona and all of their social presences online together. If that makes sense. We're trying to make that connection and make it plainly obvious that this is a real person out there that has connected on the web on various social media type of properties. Okay, and that's what gives it the power. And also gives it that stickability. You know what I mean? That's part of the reason why our accounts are very rarely get terminated, because they look so much more real. And so if we're linking over to somebody else's channel in the sidebar of those accounts, that's just going to look out of place, and it's going to be, enough. You do that enough times, and it'll be quite obvious what it is that you're doing. So I recommend that you don't do that. You use the accounts from the persona that you're creating for only in each one of the profile link sections. All right. And in a new Tier 2 ring, there is only one Web 2.0 blog in the center of the ring, correct? I.e., Tier 2A Blogger ring would just have one Blogger account, and the video embedded will then be auto-syndicated out to the same Tier 2A social sites and live streaming sites only, correct? Yes. Yeah, you'd only have one trigger source. And in this case, it would be Blogger. We should probably have a graphic up so that we can kind of describe this too, but you're just going to have one account that's triggering the Tier 2 network. Again, Tier 2A would be Blogger, Tier 2B would be Tumblr, Tier 2C would be WordPress. Okay. What is the correct procedure for connecting all 4 rings so I don't cause a problem when logging into all 4 different personas from the first time from my actual IP address? What should I expect from Google verifications when they first detect a different IP than what was used when creating my 4 IFTTT rings? Okay, well, as soon as you get done creating the accounts, like Ed, if you're using proxies to create accounts, which is fine, that's what you should be doing if you're creating a lot of different accounts, okay? Then once you've created the accounts and you've got everything set up, clear your cache and your cookies, the same process that you've been taught. So go clear your cache and cookies, close your browser, close Firefox, run CCleaner, then reopen up Firefox, and then log in without using a proxy into the Google account that you just created. And that's gonna tie that IP, your IP address to that account, which will make it to where you should be able to access it without it causing any problems or re-verifications. Okay, so it's mainly in the setup process. For example, when I set up new accounts, like and I still occasionally do that. I mean, we have VAs that do it, but I still occasionally have to set up an account for something. If I've got a clean browser, like if I clear my cache and cookies and I'm using a new IP, a new proxy, and I go to set up an account, a lot of times it won't even trigger a phone verification for the Google account, believe it or not, because it's a clean IP. Now, if I use that same IP twice or 3 times in a 24-hour period to create new Google accounts, it will trigger phone verification every time. And you still end up needing to phone verify the account down the road anyways, especially with YouTube channels and stuff like that. So don't get me wrong, you're still gonna end up needing to phone verify. But my point is if you have a clean browser and a clean IP, then you go to create a new account, it shouldn't trigger an actual phone verification. It's only if that IP has been detected in creating other accounts, and it's not because you're creating a bunch of spam accounts. I mean, literally, if you create 2 or 3 accounts in a 24-hour period, it will oftentimes trigger the phone verification. So my point is if you're doing it cleanly, then you shouldn't, even if it does trigger the phone verification, my point is once you've got the accounts created, just clear your cache, clear your cookies, close your browser, run CCleaner, open up your browser again, don't use a proxy this time, and go to log into the account. Now that's going to actually attach your IP to that account, which means you should be able to log into it going forward without it ever creating another issue for you of re-verification. Okay. By the way, that said, we don't have I don't even know if it's open for sale or not, but we're testing right now. I started testing this earlier this week, and I've heard a lot of really good things about it. It's called Brow SEO. I have to get with the guy the developer, and talk with him about doing maybe a webinar for our students and everything on it. But it's a software that would really help, I think, in creating accounts, if you guys are creating a bunch of accounts and everything, because you can open up a bunch of different browser windows that each have their own IP, and so you can pretty much like create your accounts and everything all from one open Firefox instance, but each tab would have its own IP, if that makes sense. It's really cool. So it's something that I just started testing. I haven't even been using it much at all. Like I just purchased it earlier this week, and I got it for our VAs mainly. But it's something that we'll look into more and share it with you guys when I have more information about it. All right. Okay, what is, let's see, we already talked about that. Is there any use for all YouTube channel, Google Plus, and the second-tier network other than tying them all together suggested? Yeah, I mean, you can post to them if you want, Ed. You know, there's certainly value. If you already have a persona set up that's really done well, all the accounts are tied together, and now you have a YouTube channel for that persona. If it's not being used for anything, which typically I don't, because it's just used as a way to tie all of the profiles together. But now you have all these other channels that are set up that you can use for other marketing things if you want. I mean, remember, those are channels that are aging. They're well connected to all the other profiles. You know, so essentially it has an identity. So that, you know, those are good YouTube channels. You can absolutely still use those YouTube channels. I typically don't because I just have too many of them. But you can certainly use them for you know, uploading videos, doing other. I actually like using those types of YouTube channels for testing purposes. Okay. Anybody want to add to that, or is that good, or what?
No, that's fine. We were having some issues with the audio, so I don't know. Hopefully, we'll come back, anyways.
What is people saying they can't hear us?
Yeah, it's a usual thing. It's it's down for viewers, but based on our previous experiences, there's nothing we can do, so we're just going to keep going and see if it comes back up, and the replay should be good.
Good old Google and all their changes they're making.
Yeah.
It's working. It wasn't broke, so they fixed it. You know what I mean? It wasn't broke, so they fixed it. All right, should we upload some videos to our second tier persona channel so it's not just sitting there with nothing on it? Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving. You must have added this as another one. Yeah, you can. I honestly don't care, but if you're worried about it, Ed, you can add a video to it. It wouldn't hurt. Google now wants us to use Webmaster Tools to link our Blogger site to our Google Plus page. Not sure how to do it and don't want to screw it up. I thought you could only verify if a site is on a domain that's self-hosted. I'm really confused about this. Thanks. Yeah, no, it's easy. If you're going to add, all you do is go to Google Search Console, formerly Webmaster Tools, and add the URL of your Blogger blog, and it's going to give you a verification code, and it's going to tell you where to add the verification code in your Blogger blog. And in fact, it's been a while. I've done it for Blogger, but it's been a while since I've done it. So it might even just because if your Blogger account is underneath the same account as your Google Search Console, then when you go to add the URL to Webmaster Tools, it might even recognize the Blogger since it's in housed under that same Google account, and just say, okay, verification successful.
Yeah. Yeah, usually it works. Well, in my experience, it works like that with Blogger. If you're linking if you're linking under the same Google Search Console. Yeah, but also you can pretty much add any property, Web 2.0 properties like a WordPress or a Tumblr. You can add pretty much anything. But yeah, Blogger has the ability to auto-verify.
That's right. Gravatar, I'm assuming we don't use this because it's associated only with WordPress. If I was doing a Tier 2B WordPress IFTTT ring, would I use Gravatar then? Yeah, I mean, Gravatar is part of the process. That's why it's in the IFTTT training, Ed, because it creates a semantic hub. By the way, for those of you that are, look, there's been a lot of changes to Google Plus recently. There's also been some changes to some of the other properties inside the IFTTT networks that are going to be addressed. I'm going to start creating, we're going to be creating an IFTTT version 2.0 or IFTTT SEO Academy version 2. But that's going to be several weeks out. But in the meantime, I'm going to do some update videos for anybody that's purchased that. And I hope to have them done and completed and uploaded to the members area by the end of next week. Okay, because there's been a lot of changes, like the new Google Plus changes, that affects us, and so there's some stuff that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to do update videos to kind of band-aid or patch, some holes in the training that are there because of the most recent changes. But then I'm going to end up we're probably going to relaunch and do a full-on new version of it over the next I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks or so because of all the recent changes, plus some of the strategies that have evolved a bit. Mm-hmm. So just guys, be aware that that's probably going to be released in a few short months.
Yeah,
okay.
And also new recipes, because we have been having a lot of input from the IFTTT Facebook group and MasterMind members. They are implementing new recipes and new way of using IFTTT. So we are adding that to the version 2.0, which is going to be super cool.
Yep. Okay, Brian says, would there be an easy way to put like 100 links into an RSS feed? If you there's a couple like feed creators, if that's what you're talking about, Brian. I'm not sure what you're talking about. There are some out there that you can create feeds by adding your own links. Shit, I know I've got some of them here. Let's take a look. What we got? I've got so many of them here. I'd have to go through some of these to figure out which ones are which. But there are some of these where you can create feeds out of like your own. You can like, for example, if you had a GSA campaign and you exported a list of links that you had built or created, and let's say you had 300 links, you could actually go. What is it? I can't remember that. I'll have to try to find the site, Brian. I'm not going to do it right now, but you can add like paste those into an online service, and it will create a feed URL out of those links. And all the feed is just those links on a page, in other words. And that's something that could be used to submit to aggregators and stuff. And it's kind of more of an older link building thing that we used to do, not something we do a whole lot of anymore. I'm sorry, what is it?
I'll see. We've got the post on our site, the Yahoo Pipes Alternative, so maybe that might have some.
Yeah, it might be in there.
Feed Informer, RSS Mix, Feedity, Feed Rinse, Chimp Feeder, Feed Killer.
RSS Mix, that's probably it.
Yeah, so I'll post it on the page here.
Yeah, that's probably it. If you can find that, that'd be great. How do you make a Twitter RSS feed? I used the Google Scripts and made one, but from there I cannot put it in IFTTT. Have you tried burning a feed burner feed from that? Because that's oftentimes, if IFTTT won't accept an RSS feed, a lot of times if you just go burn a feed burner feed out of the feed that you were trying to submit originally, then you go take the resulting feed burner feed and submit that. IFTTT will accept it. So I would try that. Okay. Also, there is a new service. I was actually looking at this recently. This is called queryfeed.net, and this you can actually create RSS feeds from Twitter very, very easily. And you can create tweets like an RSS. This is called queryfeed.net. Here, I'm going to drop this, Adam, if you can post this on the page. But what's cool is if you create, like for example, let's say at Semantic Mastery, for example. This will do more than just Twitter too, but I've only played with it for Twitter. But this will grab all the tweets from the Twitter. In fact, I'm going to have to do this in Firefox because I've got some stupid plugin in Chrome that'll make the feed look weird. So let's take a look at this real quick. Now what this should do is create an actual output feed from all the tweets from Semantic Mastery. You see that? And this creates a nice feed URL here. So I haven't tested this with IFTTT yet, but this just created. And if you take a look over here, guys, at the pricing, for example, if you're using the free version, it will only allow 10 items on the output page, right? So the most recent 10 items. If you go with a paid account, which is only $5 a month, it'll give you up to 100 actual tweets and items per RSS. Does that make sense? So anyways, this is pretty cool. I just started playing with this earlier this week, so I just found it and I thought it was kind of cool. I've got some tests set up with this now, seeing what I can do with these feeds here. But check it out.
Yeah. Hey, Bradley.
Yep.
I would just go into FeedBurner. I mean, if we're talking about one RSS feed or just a couple, just go burn them in FeedBurner and they should work perfectly.
Yeah.
Plus, you're getting the power from inside of FeedBurner.
Right.
For your feed.
Yep. That's what I said. If you know, a lot of the times, if you run into issues with like your main website, your money site's RSS feed not being accepted by IFTTT, the workaround is oftentimes just burn the feed burner feed and then go submit it and it'll work fine. Sometimes there'll be plugin conflicts or something that's causing IFTTT not to recognize your feeds. And if that's the case, just burning a feed burner feed oftentimes will fix that. Okay, and like Marco said, you get that whole you get to piggyback off the authority of Google and FeedBurner too. So yeah, this is awful. Leave it to Wayne. Good old Wayne. I think I already +1'd it.
It's pretty cool. I like the feed.
Yeah. That is disturbing.
Yeah.
Jeff says, I've been using crowdsearch.me and Video Powerhouse with some pretty good results in a short period of time. That's great, Jeff. Do you have any plans to offer services like crowdsearch.me to build referral traffic views or view through posts created by Video Powerhouse? Yes, Jeff. That's something we're actually talking with Dan Anton about very briefly, but possibly. We may be able to work something out where we integrate that into Video Powerhouse. It's something we're looking into. And obviously we'll update anybody that is inside of Video Powerhouse as we get more details on that. But that's something that I would like to get integrated into that. So it's on this. It's being worked on. Let's put it that way. I can't say that
it's not in the near term, but it's not. Yeah. It's on the radar. So.
Yeah, it's on the radar. We're working on it. It's something that I really would like to see because I'm having phenomenal results with using crowd search and referral traffic methods. We have a blog post on our blog about that specifically. Let me see if I can grab the link, unless you have it, Adam.
Sure. Is that your SEO sucks?
No, that would have been. Let's see. Just log into the account, or I'm sorry, to the blog, and look for referral traffic in the blog's post index, and you should be able to find it real quick. I just did the post like 3 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay. It's about referral traffic.
Yeah, just if you type in, do a search in the blog dashboard.
Yeah.
For referral traffic, you should see it come up. If you want to grab that link and drop it, that would be great. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, like I've been using crowd search for referral traffic instead of direct search click traffic, and I'm having really, really good results with that. Like in fact, there's like some of the tests that I've done on both local and videos. That's pretty much all I'm doing, and I'm getting really good results. So, like, here's an example I can share with you guys because this was part of like the Wirecast webinar that we did on how to use Wirecast in live stream videos. And this was the actual video that I used in that webinar on how to live stream using Wirecast. And so here, this is SEO Charlottesville, VA. This is a clean browser, guys, but this I got this in position number 4. And really, the only thing that I've done with this, and this is from July 13th, and this was just an example, guys. Like I said, I've other than going across the networks that it's connected to, the IFTTT networks, the only thing that I did to this was I set up a crowd search campaign and referral through using referral traffic or sending referral traffic using crowd search through social posts such as tweets, blogger posts, Tumblr posts, WordPress posts. And essentially it's getting the traffic, but the traffic that's coming to the video is being sent to it through as referral traffic through one of these social media properties. And that's given it a huge boost. And it's just been on page 1 now for, I don't know, for a long time, and I haven't done anything else. It moves up and down a little bit on page 1, but this is just an example. Now I've done the same thing for local sites, and I've had some really good results with that too. So referral traffic is a great way to do. Did you find it, Adam, by chance?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So, and I go into that specifically, guys, in that blog post.
Bradley?
Yeah.
Before you go on, there's people apparently having problems with Hump Day again. They can't hear us.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so I just told them we're going to plow ahead. Hernan's also now recording the audio, so we missed some of that in case the absolute worst happens and the replay isn't up. But at worst case, we'll have the audio now for most of it, and we'll just keep going and hope that every time this has happened to us, usually it happens during MasterClass.
Yeah.
But every time this has happened, I think the replay has been good. So
the replay's always been fine.
Yeah.
Well,
so
it's nearly MasterClass time, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
yeah.
Could be. Okay. Paul Davies says, hi, just found a video where you spoke about building your own assets and redirecting links to client sites for protection. Will the client site move higher in ranking with our redirect, or are they just benefiting from the extra calls, etc.? What is the best way to redirect, or would you use WP overlayer or just a redirect? Just concerned they will be expecting to see rankings report for their own site with no increase. Thanks, Paul. Paul, you apparently that's not a redirect. Would mean if you take a web page and you redirect it to somewhere else, then that web page, the original one that you're redirecting, is no longer viewable. Because if somebody clicks on a link that would have taken them to that page, it's going to redirect them directly to the final destination that you pointed the redirect to. So when you ask if will the client site move higher in rankings with our redirect, or do they just benefit from extra calls? Well, if your site, if you built links to page, let's say page A is your page and page B is your client's page, and you've already built links to page A, and it was ranking well, and now in your client's page, page B, wasn't ranking all that well, and you do a redirect to your client B page, then theoretically it should rank better, or it should, perform better, so it should rank higher. But you've got to make sure that the on page is correct to where you're redirecting to, because if you have a really poorly optimized page, it's over-optimized, or it's not optimized at all, or it's just done incorrectly, or whatever, and you redirect from a high-performing page to that, you're not going to see any increase at all, or if you do, it's going to be nominal, something that's not even worth noting. So you got to make sure that your on page is tight and is done well in order for it to benefit from the redirect. Okay? So, but again, if you're redirecting from one page to another, that original page is no longer going to be viewable until you remove the redirect. So any benefit or any SEO equity that you had built to that particular page can be passed to the resulting page, the destination that you're pointing the redirect to, but you got to make sure that the on page is correct, or you won't see a significant increase from just the redirect, if that makes sense. Okay. What is the best way to redirect? There's multiple ways you can do it, Paul. There's a really simple plugin called Simple 301 Redirects. That's what it's called, Simple 301 Redirects. That's a great plugin to use because it's very easy. There's another one called Quick Page Post Redirects. That's another plugin that will do something similar. You can also do redirects in htaccess. Depends on how comfortable you are in that. You can do just a domain redirect from within your registrar or from within cPanel if you'd like. That gives you a lot less control, though. I like to be able to redirect on a page-by-page basis, which is why a plugin like Simple 301 Redirects is good. We're also doing HT Access, so you can do it that way as well.
Yep. Yeah, HT Access I think is the more granular way to go. If you want for a quick solution, go with a registrant. That's usually what I'm doing if I'm setting up a switch box or something. Now the problem with registrant redirections is that you need to make sure, 100% sure that you have a 301 redirection. For example, Namecheap will give you a 301 redirection. GoDaddy will sometimes, and sometimes it won't. So you need to make sure, and you can use something like Where Goes or Redirect Checker, or go to Google and see for look for a redirect checker, and that will give you what kind of redirection you have going in between. Because otherwise, you could be losing link juice if you're doing a 302. In fact, there were some people complaining. I think it was on some of the Facebook groups when I mentioned this, because they were doing redirections via GoDaddy, and they weren't seeing results. And when they went through the redirect checker, it was coming back as a 302, even when GoDaddy was saying that it was a 301. You know, so you need to make sure that that's happening.
Yeah, but again, I don't recommend just doing a domain redirect unless you're doing it specifically for like Switchbox SEO or for setting up slipstreams and that sort of thing. But because if you're trying to do a redirect based on like what brought this question up, Paul, which is redirecting the client site stuff, I do that on a page-by-page basis. And so you're going to need to do it on either using a plugin or using HT Access. Okay. WP Overlayer, I don't ever use WP Overlayer. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's essentially where you take a web page and you overlay it on top of another page, and it's just using an iframe, and it's Google calls it cloaking, and so it's against Google's terms of service. And so I don't ever use WP Overlayer where I'm overlaying a money site page onto a traffic driving page, if that makes sense. I don't do that because it's a great way to get your money sites, whether it's yours or your client's sites, penalized, because that's considered cloaking. It's against Google's terms of service. If you're going to do that method where you're generating pages to rank, to drive traffic, and you're going to overlay another page on top of it so that the visitor only sees the page you want them to, not the page that's really underneath that's ranking, then you got to make sure that you're setting up a separate landing page on either an entirely different domain or on a subdomain of the money site. But I even recommend using an entirely different domain, because that way you're protecting your money site from any potential Google wrath from cloaking. Okay. So just keep that in mind. That's something I do a lot of that stuff, guys, but I don't overlay money sites. In fact, one of the projects I'm working on right now that's an affiliate project, I was actually using a money site overlay that I had just created, and the site's not even 2 weeks old, and I got it de-indexed. I got a manual because I wasn't following my own advice. I took a shortcut because it was such a new site. I said, oh, you know what? I'll lay this over top my traffic driving sites until I get time to create another landing page. And it had been under 2 weeks, guys, and I got a manual pure spam action taken. Got the notification and Gmail and everything. And so I had to, it was a pain in the ass because I had just built this brand new blog in less than 2 weeks. This just happened earlier this week. And I was overlaying it on top of some traffic driving pages that I had created using the ATM, which is like Surfshaker basically. And I got basically de-indexed because of it, and which pissed me off. So I had to clone the site, and then I had to buy a new domain, which screwed up because I had a cherry domain, and it screwed it up. I had to go buy a new domain, and then install the clone on the new domain, and now I'm using the de-indexed domain as the landing page to overlay because it's already de-indexed. You know what I mean? So just so you know, that's you don't want to do it because they will seriously take serious action against you if they see you cloaking. All right? I mean, that's, we do it anyways. I'm just letting you know. You just got to be really careful with whatever you're using to overlay. Make sure that it's not connected to your money site in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Just been asked to submit this over here, hopefully in the right place. I'm looking to buy IFTTT networks, and I have a query, long one. Sorry, looking for video link to explain best practice on the following scenario. New client needs SEO on their existing site. Location Australia, SEO, existing site. I would like a network to promote content and videos directly from brand on a weekly basis. Question, which network scenario for client site do you recommend? I don't understand that. Same time, which network scenario for client site do you recommend? New client. I don't. Is there another part of this question I'm missing?
Yeah, keep.
I guess he's wondering if he should just get a tiered network
Right.
versus just a branded network for his client site.
Okay, I'm still. Which network scenario for client site do you recommend? Okay. I think I understand now. So he's asking, should he get a tier 1 or a full 2-tier network?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For money site, for website blog syndication, guys, I've said this many times. I only like to use the tier 1 networks only. It's okay if you're only dealing with 1 or 2 sites and you want to use the tiered networks for blog syndication. That's fine. But there are some other things you have to be cautious of. You have to be wary of when you're using tiered networks for blog syndication, because you can get yourself into trouble if you're not doing it properly. The training teaches you how to do it properly. However, I know that a lot of people like to take shortcuts and stuff like that, and personally, it's more management to deal with tiered networks for blog syndication than I like to deal with, especially because of the number of sites that I manage. So I just use tier 1 networks for blog syndication. For YouTube syndication, I'll stack as many tiered networks on top of that YouTube channel as I want, and it doesn't bother me a bit because there's no footprint issues. I'm not worried about it. But for blog syndication, I am concerned with footprint issues and also with the level of maintenance that is required to keep all of those networks functioning properly, because oftentimes feeds will have interruptions, or they'll have some sort of problem, and you got to be monitoring all that, or else you're leaving yourself open because of a footprint. So my point is, Paul, my recommendation, it sounds like you're doing client work. If you're doing client work, I recommend that you just sell tier 1 networks to clients, unless you're doing client work for YouTube stuff for them. In other words, if you're doing SEO work for YouTube channels that they own, then you can sell them non-tiered networks all day long. But for blog syndication alone, I would stick with tier 1 only. It will make your life a lot easier. It's easier to deal with. Okay? At the same time, I'm planning on building out a new site, same niche as client's business, to add extra leads to client's business. I would like a branded network to promote from as well for this site, but do I add the extra tiers? Again, blog syndication, I'd stick with tier 1 only, Paul. I'm planning on promoting content and video through network from the brand of this site. Which network scenario do you recommend? Well, in that case, if you're going to be promoting video too, you're also going to have a YouTube channel, then I would recommend that you put the branded tier 1 network attached to your blog, whichever money site that is, so that your blog is syndicating to the branded tier 1 network. Then for your YouTube channel, even if it's the same brand, just create persona-based networks, full 2-tier networks. Stack as many of them as you need to get the results that you want. But you want to put your branded network around your blog, because you want to push that authority that you're building back to your blog, because you own that. Remember, guys, when we're using YouTube channels, which I love to use YouTube to make money, but we don't own those. YouTube does. So, whenever I build an associated website or a branded, a brand, I create a website to match the brand, and then I put the branded tier 1 network around the blog itself, to where the authority is being built to the blog. And I'm just using the YouTube channel to drive traffic at that point, which persona-based networks are just fine for that. There's no reason. If all you have is a YouTube channel, guys, brand it anyways, and build a branded tier 1 network attached to the YouTube channel, because brands are stronger in Google's eyes than just personas. But in the case where you have both a YouTube channel and a money site, I recommend the branded network go around your money site, so that you can start building authority to your money site, and you just use the persona-based networks on your YouTube channel just to get that extra push, that extra syndication, embeds, backlinks, social signals, bookmarks, that sort of thing. All right? I think I watched a video where Bradley explained how you prospect your SEO business by building a new site, doing all SEO on the site, but redirecting traffic with a link to site. With a link to client site. If client drops you cold, you can edit the site links to a new client. Can you please explain or send link to training? Paul, that's something that we cover inside the MasterMind. I can't cover that here publicly. If you're talking about building assets and doing redirects, kind of like what you asked earlier, that's something that we can't disclose publicly. a lot of the times what I'll do is build sites and lead gen sites, because I still got a lot of my income still comes from lead gen sites, and those I'll build as like generic basically originally, or like with my own brand. And then if I get somebody in place that wants to purchase those leads, depending on the arrangement I have with them, I may end up changing the branding on the site to match them. It depends on the relationship that I have with them. But that's all I do. Then they'll benefit still from the traffic, and it'll have their branding on it. See, here's the thing. Like I used to do like I used to leave all my sites generic, and I would just drive the traffic and the calls to a service provider that would go service the calls, right? Provide the service. But what I found was it was a lot of the times, like for example, I use tree services because that's one of my big ones. If I had a city tree service, right, like let's call it like whatever, let's say Atlanta Tree Service was the name of the business, and I'm doing air quotes right now because that was the generic name when I created the brand and I built the lead gen site. And I left it like that, and let's say I had Tommy's Tree Service was the name of the company that ended up buying leads from me. Well, if somebody called Atlanta Tree Service and or submitted a contact form on the website, most of the time it's phone calls, but let's say they called and they schedule an estimate. Somebody comes, and now Tommy's Tree Service pulls up in the driveway and comes out and says, hey, I'm here to give you your estimate for removing this tree. And they say, well, who the hell are you? I called Atlanta Tree Service. And now they had to explain, the contractors have to explain to the homeowner, hey, well, that's just a lead gen site, blah, blah, blah. And I got that all the time because I get complaints from the contractors saying, I got to try to explain to them, blah, blah, blah. So now what a lot of times I'll do is I'll end up rebranding, putting their logo on the site. It's still my phone number. It's still my address, even if it's a black-hatted address. But I still all my contact details that get forwarded to the client, but I'll still change the branding on the website to the lead buyer so that it doesn't confuse the person calling requesting the service. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. As far as doing the redirects and everything, that's a little bit more advanced, and we can talk about that side of the mastermind, Paul, and I think you're in there. Before any order, this is a long-ass question. Before I order any IFTTT networks, do you create all accounts, including Google, and we just order the fresh networks? Accounts being created in U.S. or Philippines. Will there be an issue verifying when I log in once accounts are handed over to me in Australia? And I have had issues before when signing in here in Australia. Both of these sites have no accounts set as yet. Appreciated feedback. Cheers, Paul. Paul, no, we create everything. Unless you have a Google account that you want us to use, we will not log into a main Google account. We will only log into Pages, which means you have to create a separate page login. There's instructions on how to do that on the order form. But yes, we create all the brand new accounts unless you specifically have a Google Plus or YouTube channel page, Google Plus page or YouTube channel that you want us to use. In which case, you have to provide us with the proper login details for that only. And again, the instructions are on there. As far as accounts being created in the U.S. or the Philippines, they will be created in the Philippines, using a U.S. proxy. When we deliver them to you, we tell you you've got 72 hours to log in with your own IP. And we provide the verification email, the recovery email, as well as also the phone number that was used when we set up the account to phone verify the account. It's all in the spreadsheets when you get your completed networks. And that way, if you go to log in, you'll have the details to be able to recover it and unlock it if you get IP locked. And then once you've logged in, it will marry that to your IP, and you'll be fine from that point forward. But you got to do it very quickly after we send them to you, because we've delivered networks, and a month later somebody says, well, I never got around to logging in, and when I went to go log in, it triggered a re-verification. Can you guys help me? And no, we can't, because it's a month later. There's nothing we can do but build another network, and we're going to bill you for that. So you got to make sure you log in fairly quickly, within about 3 days. All right, we're going to keep rolling. Scott says, does anyone know of a smartphone app that would allow or would work for a dedicated channel or of membership tutorial playlists? Something similar to the TED app. Being more and more mobile, I would like to listen, learn, for example, all of the Hump Day videos or all the particular tutorial SEO Academy tutorials in sequence with a resume where left off ability. The goal being faster access, fewer hoops to jump through. The app could even self-destruct after X views or months. I have no idea, Scott.
Yeah, Scott. So for this one right now, the easy answer is going to be for the stuff that's paid. It's really hard unless we develop our own app to do that, and I can tell you right now that's not a priority. But not that it's a bad idea. I think it's great, and if we get to the point where it makes sense and a lot of people want that, then we can look at it. As far as podcasts, there's a lot of stuff you can use to stream YouTube videos. Any RSS feed should be able to do it. Like while in the background I was bringing this up, I use Feedly as an RSS reader. So what you can do is use something like on our support site where we have the YouTube RSS URLs. You can get that and then take our playlist ID for like the Hump Day Hangouts, and boom, there you go. You got an RSS feed, and you can load it in there, and it loads up. It doesn't go to YouTube. You know, I tried it on my phone, and you can listen to the playlist right there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of yeah,
sorry, Alan, but the SoundCloud app will also do the same, and I think Stitcher will also do the same as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and that might be better because it's not actually playing the video, so mobile it might be more battery efficient.
Right.
And then as far as beyond that, it's going to be up to you to find a good podcast app. I tried it in mine. I used BeyondPod on the Android, and it wouldn't load a YouTube playlist. So beyond that, that's up to you. But you know, this is something if other people are interested in it, something we can look at. But right now, that's a little bit beyond where we're at.
Right. Okay, Rob says he built a Tier 1 and Tier 2 based on a training, IFTTT SEO training, and now he's building out a third tier using some high PA Tumblr sites that he had purchased. And he's asking about linkings. What's the safest way to link to those Tier 3 using Fiverr gigs? Well, Rob, I don't like using Fiverr gigs for any sort of link building. However, if you're going to do it, then yeah, using it to your Tier 3 properties would be about the closest I would bring any sort of Fiverr gigs to my money site, because again, there's such a footprint issue with those. I don't like to use them at all. But if you're going to use them all the way out at Tier 3. What he's asking about is the type of anchor text that he should be using in the links in those fourth tier links that are building to his Tier 3 property. And in that case, Rob, I recommend that you just do URL anchors, generics, and top-level keywords, not exact match keywords, because it just doesn't make sense. I would just stick with generics, URLs, and because all you're looking to do at that point is push juice, push equity. It's essentially you're not really looking to build any sort of relevancy that far out. It's just about funneling juice through your links all the way back to your money site. So for that case, I would stick with just generics, URLs, and then very top-level keywords, like the broadest of broad keywords. Okay, you want to chime in on that, Hernan? Is that good?
No, I think you nailed it. You nailed it. Yep.
Robert says, I'm thinking about getting the Twitter SEO Academy, and I would like your input on the Twitter plugin WP Tweet Machine as to its effectiveness and/or usefulness in the world of Twitter and SEO. Great question, Robert. I honestly don't know. I picked that up today, by the way, the WP Tweet Machine. I haven't had a chance to play with it, and I probably won't get to play with it anytime before sometime next week. So unfortunately, I can't give you any input on it. I did pick it up, though. It's inexpensive as hell, so right now is a good time to pick it up. I would like to play with it a little bit. I think that combined with the Twitter SEO stuff that we teach could be quite a pretty powerful combination.
In fact, for the looks of it, the idea was to make a training or sort of a training or offer Twitter SEO Academy as kind of an upsell, quote unquote, to that WP Tweet Machine, because I think it will go hand in hand and it will allow you to overpower your Twitter. Because I think it was Gary that was posting on Facebook as well. He got a couple of new clients just by implementing Twitter SEO Academy. So it's not only for SEO but also for lead generation. It works great, and it goes hand in hand with WP Tweet Machine for the way it looks.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason I picked it up today, because I was thinking after I play with it a little bit, I think it could work really well with the Twitter SEO Academy as well. It's kind of like just they work hand in hand possibly. Again, I don't know because I haven't used it yet, but from looking at the sales page, it looks like it's something that could work really well together. So maybe this time next week, Robert, we'll have a better answer for you.
You got a link for that, Adam?
Adam might, yeah. I think, actually, I'm not sure if we did or not. We got a link for that. But anyways.
Yeah, for which one? I was just putting down the next question.
Tweet Machine?
Tweet Machine.
Yeah, let me find that real quick.
All right, next question. I had gotten a YouTube Silo Academy, and I have a question about two silo structures. When using the mono silo in your website, Are you putting a link in every post? I don't use monosilos in websites, Robert. I only do that for YouTube. I've tested that multiple times, and I've never found any direct benefit of using the monosilo type structure within my websites. So I just don't use it anymore because, in fact, I think that limits. I don't think that works as well as far as it just didn't perform as well. Let's put it that way. I don't want to go too in depth into that because that could get really advanced. I'd have to start drawing diagrams and everything else, and we're not going to get into that now for lack of time. But my point is I don't use monosilo structure in my websites. I only do that for YouTube videos. Okay, so the next question is in regards to both playlists and. Oh, wait a minute, but let me finish this one. Are you putting a link in every post, or do you put the link to the category, or do you put a link to the page? Okay, well, again, since I don't use that for websites, we'll gloss over that. But for YouTube playlist silos, what I'll do is I always link up to the playlist URL, which would be like the silo landing page, right, or the top level category. If you were trying to think of it in WordPress terms, it would be the top level category. But I always have an internal link in the video description linking up to the playlist, and then I have a link linking to the next video in the playlist. So it's the actual YouTube URL that it's linking to. And then all the way down at the very bottom of the playlist, the last video in the series will link back up to the top video in the series. So it's essentially a one-way, besides the link that goes to the playlist itself. Each one of the links within the video descriptions always link to the next video in the series until it gets to the last video, in which case it links back up to the top video in the series, which creates that loop. Okay, and every single one of those has an actual link to the playlist itself, and that's what reinforces the category throughout, in my opinion. Okay, and I've tested that a lot, guys, and that's how a lot of times I'll do the monos playlist when I've got a particularly difficult keyword to rank. And I'll use those supporting videos, not because I care whether they end up ranking or not, but just to push that first video in the series up. Okay, and it works really, really well. And what happens a lot of times with that monosilo type structure is that a lot of the main video that you're linking to at the very top of the playlist will end up ranking for some of the other terms that you're using as supporting videos because of the way the linking structure is set up within the playlist. All right, so that's why we do it that way. In regards to both playlists and website silos, are you building the silos and have you concluded for the day? Do you always link? Okay, I guess when you're done at the end of the day working, do you always link from the last post video up to the top main keyword post video for the continuity and then clear that to the top link when you resume adding posts again the next day? Yeah, I mean you can, Robert, but honestly I would just usually if I'm building out a playlist, guys, I'll do it I'll usually do it all within a day or two, So I think you're splitting hairs here. You're out in the weeds a little bit, Robert, because it really doesn't matter. Like if you stop building at the end of the day and you didn't put a link up to the top level video, who cares? The next day, if you're going to resume building again, just resume building. Don't worry about it. If you're going to let it sit for 3 or 4 weeks, then go ahead and put a link in there. But if you're building it fairly quickly, just stop where you stop, and when you're done, make sure your linking structure is correct. All right, you don't have to worry about each time you add a video, you don't have to worry about going back to your previous video and adding the link. Just put all 10 videos in the playlist and then go back and make sure your linking structure is set up properly. That's typically how I do it. Okay. So, anyways, good question though.
Looks like we're back with the audio. Yay!
All right. Well, you guys can catch the replay. So the replay will have all the audio.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Thomas asked if there's a schedule for MasterMind Webbies. Yeah, it's every 2 weeks on Thursday, Thomas.
And I told him we'd get back. There's going to be a lot of stuff I answered in here. We can actually start scrolling through this stuff.
Okay. Andy Walsh, wow, from France.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Haven't seen her in a long time. It's good to have you back, Sandra. She was around this time last year, and then she disappeared for a while. Okay, what's next?
The RK says, well, when ranking a Google site with embedded Google Docs and Maps and Spreadsheet, do you send links to each separate property as well as the Google site?
Absolutely. And he's talking about RYS Academy stuff, RK. But yeah, absolutely.
Looks like, yeah.
Hammer everything. Hammer all of it. So if you're in our RYS Academy, RK, which you must be, or else you wouldn't even ask this question, and we set up the spider silos according to the term that Marco invented. the spider silos, and you just backlink to everything in there. Everything. Each one of the individual files, the Google site itself, the folder, everything. Okay?
All
Is
right.
there being, sorry, but is there being an offer with a discount as well? RYS Academy?
$200
yeah,
off.
$200 off.
Whoa, cool.
$200 off RYS Academy.
Awesome.
By the way, anybody watching that was looking to get some updates on that case study that I started in there, I did spend about 2 hours working on that today. There's nothing for you guys to see because I don't have anything to show you yet, but I'm trying to complete that out because I know that's been something that got pushed into the back burner for a while, but I'm trying to get that completed. So within the next couple weeks, I'll have an update for you guys because I did start working on it again.
Cool.
Robbie,
yeah, and so I kind of answered his real quick, and before we read this, I just want to say if Chris is still on, I can hear him in the background saying, I told you so.
Yeah. Did Chris read this?
Oh, I'm probably, but it's a good question, and it's something, well, I answered it above there. It's something we're working on, but let's go ahead and read it.
All right, so many people run into the info overload that stunts progress because there isn't a metaphorical map to follow. Yeah, that's called analysis of, or paralysis of analysis. Yeah, paralysis of analysis. You guys have a ton of great content and products, but for someone who can't determine what's absolutely necessary and important to begin ranking, how would you guide a person who wants to begin using your methods for ranking and building a solid business through your products the most practical, logical way? Thanks. Robbie, I would say the MasterClass training is the best place to start, and it depends on what it is, what type of business you're trying to start. I know Chris, he's on. I think, Chris, you started working on kind of a metaphorical map, correct?
Adam actually mapped it out.
Okay.
I suggested
But
it.
he's making it look good, and that's Robbie's, just so you're aware, we are working on it, is the answer. And two, we're aware of it because we're getting to the point where, you know, we have people come in and say exactly what you're saying. So
Yeah.
but the answer up front is the masterclass. The link's right there. Hopefully you hear this. And almost no matter what you're interested in doing, that's going to be a good place to get started.
Yeah.
Because it focuses on becoming profitable and getting started quickly.
And it's step by step. It literally is like if you want to start with video SEO, which is what we started with in the masterclass, and IFTTT networks, this is where you begin. And we've taken and proved, you know, and did some live case studies that are generating revenue, blah blah blah, and it's step by step. So, highly recommend you start there. Okay, Daryl asks, can you discuss the changes, the new Google Plus layout effects? We talked about this at the very beginning of this webinar. I'm going to be updating the training because it does affect us, guys. Sorry?
No, 2.0.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to be doing some update videos for the existing training and adding them to the update section of the training, and I mentioned it inside the IFTTT SEO Academy Facebook group that as I get those updates uploaded into the members area, I will post each time in the Facebook community so that you guys are aware of the new update video. But that's going to be just a band-aid or a patch because we're going to end up redoing the IFTTT and launching a second version of it because of so many changes that have occurred that it's going to end up being a version 2.0 course that comes out. Don't get me wrong, anybody that's already purchased, you're going to get updates, but they're going to be update videos that are added to the existing training. So you'll go through the main training and then you have to go view the updates to see what changes there were, because obviously the interfaces are going to be different between the new Google Plus and the old Google Plus, that sort of thing. But we are going to generate, or I'm probably going to build out a version 2.0 of IFTTT SEO Academy, which will come out maybe 6 to 8 weeks, something like that, guys. And that'll be an upgrade. I mean, it's you won't just get that. That'll be an upgrade because it'll be a whole new course. Okay. But for those of you that are currently IFTTT SEO Academy members, I will be doing some update training videos on that, and I hope to have all of those done, completed, and uploaded by the end of next week. You heard it here. All right, what else?
All right, if we go up, Clint was asking about the URLs for Video Powerhouse and playlist. I posted the solution to that. Guys, you can post a playlist video,
Now you
but
can,
you can't post the, so in what actually gets posted, you just need to make sure you put the right URL. It just needs to be the video of the actual page where the video plays, okay? And then that's it. That's just, so yeah, you can't go wrong there.
So like if you open up a playlist and
Yep.
you're viewing a video, and then you click the share button, and you go down and you copy the shared URL, that's going to be the share URL for that video in the playlist. It's not going to be for the individual video, and it's also not going to be the playlist URL.
Yeah, and
It's
I
gonna
just
be
put
the
in there, if you look at the URL and it actually says playlist, that's
Yeah.
the wrong one.
Yeah.
So don't use that.
Okay. All right, so keep going. A lot
Yeah,
of these
this
are just
goes
comments.
up here, no sound. Here we go. Kevin was asking, hi, how do we juice RSS feeds? Thanks.
Which one's that?
It's in between Sandra and Sky, but that's his question. How do you juice an RSS feed?
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden in there with all the...
Oh, shit. All right, well, how do you juice an RSS feed? You just build links to it.
Yep.
Plain and simple. So, next question.
Let's see. Let's keep going. We broke the internet. Yeah, we kind of did. Holy moly.
It's Google spying on us. That is correct. Yeah.
Think we got, I know Keith had one, so there we go. Okay, he asked, what makes for a good video embed? Thinking more on the actual post layout. How much text and what else to consider?
Well, I can tell you, and that's why we have the IFTTT networks, the recipes for video syndication set up the way that we do, is I do not ever import the descriptions anymore. And the reason why is because I've had several video broadcasting networks, which are essentially PBN networks that I built out for specifically video syndications. And I was using a plugin called Simple Video Press. That's a Q, Adam, if possible.
Yeah.
But that's a plugin that will, because a lot of the times I'll set up YouTube channel trigger to a self-hosted WordPress site, but there's been issues with using a self-hosted WordPress site in IFTTT, because a lot of the times there will be issues where it won't post properly, or it won't recognize the WordPress, the self-hosted WordPress site. It will say incorrect username or something like that. It'll just give errors. That happens a lot, and it has to do with sometimes the hosting, sometimes it has to do with plugin conflicts, sometimes it has to do with link plugins like what do they call it, Spider Spanker, stuff like that. There are a lot of issues that have come up with trying to connect a self-hosted WordPress site to IFTTT. It can be done, but there's a lot of the times issues that will come up. So instead, I use a plugin called Simple Video Press, which would auto post to WordPress, self-hosted WordPress sites. It's a plugin, and a very cool plugin. It's a great plugin. But there's an option in there to import the video descriptions. Just like in IFTTT, you can add that as a recipe, as an ingredient in the recipe, right, is to import the video descriptions. Don't do it. And the reason I say that is because I had many big networks that I built out, and to keep it looking more random instead of always the same, a portion of my sites in the broadcasting networks would import the video descriptions, and a portion of them wouldn't, and would just have a link back to the video where it can be seen on YouTube, and maybe a link to a playlist, and maybe a link to the channel, and that was it. And through one of Google's many de-indexing, where they
Rampages.
sprees, yeah, they're de-indexing sprees. I've had a bunch of my video broadcasting sites de-indexed, and what I found, the common thread or theme or common denominator across all the sites that were de-indexed were video descriptions being imported. The ones that weren't being imported survived, and it's because, in my opinion, it's because they look spammy, it's duplicate content, and all of the links within the video description will get syndicated. So if you're linking out to money sites where you're trying to drive traffic to, and you're linking to related content and all that kind of stuff, all that gets imported, and it ends up looking spammy. So the short answer would be, all I ever do when I'm doing video embed sites is I just do the video embed itself, and potentially a link to the video. So you get the embed, plus a lot of the times I will link actually back to the video just using the naked URL, and then I'll also link to the playlist if it's in a playlist, which it should be, and also sometimes a link back to the YouTube channel. Because the way I look at it is I use that embed as almost like an attribute, like what we do when we're curating, and I like to cite the source. So the code that I'll use for underneath the video, underneath the embed, will say something like this video was first seen on, and then I'll post the channel URL, so that I'm actually citing the original source too. And I've had those sites that have survived many de-indexing sprees. So hopefully that makes clears it up. As far as text, I mean, that's all I do. Unless you're going to go in and manually add text to the post afterwards, I don't recommend you automating the posting of text at all. All right, what's next? Because we're at 5:30. Do we have any questions left that could be answered?
Yes, we do. I'm going to answer this one real quick, or you can chime in too, but Keith was also asking. Let me paste it. I think I've got it on my notepad. Nope. Anyways, he's asking about number of embeds. How many embeds do you use? Which the answer to that one's it depends. And then, how do you gauge how many embeds you might need? Which was the one question. Which again, it depends on the niche. You've got to test it.
The direct question is, what factors would affect how many embeds you go for?
There it is. Yeah.
Well, that's why it depends on the competition level. Number one, that's pretty much the main determining factor. Is what is the level of competition? If you're in a really fierce market, you're just going to need more embeds. Period. But I found that again, it's also, and this is, by the way, this is the post that Adam posted for you guys that I was talking about for referral traffic. Guys, this flat out works really well. And so this is something that I've been using for even really competitive terms. And it's not an instant thing, guys. This is something you have to set up and let it sit for. This is the one that I was showing you guys here earlier, right? Using referral traffic. I'm getting to the embed portion of the question just a moment. But my point is with sending referral traffic through social properties, through the embeds on social properties, that kind of thing, I've been able to get this to rank with very little additional work other than just going through my initial networks, right? And it's not something that happened overnight. It actually took almost 60 days for this to end up ranking, because I had actually set this up when I was testing this referral traffic method, and I saw an immediate jump, but that could have just been because it propagated through my networks. And then it dropped, away, which is normal. It's normal to see a Google dance, especially with videos. But it dropped, and then when it did come back, when it usually comes back after doing the dance or the bounce, it usually comes back to where it was originally, and oftentimes better. But in this case, it ended up on like page 4, and so I just left it go. I had the crowd search campaign set up for referral traffic, and I just left it go. I didn't touch it again. I just kind of forgot about it. And then I was testing or going through checking some other things that I was working on, and I saw this video surface for that keyword. And when I looked back at the data, because I had it in a rank tracker too, I saw that it took almost 6 weeks, I think it was, for this to jump to page 1, and then it's been there ever since, and I haven't done anything else. And so my point is when I'm looking at the number of embeds, like there really is no rule. Like it's just what is the competition level. If you're in more competitive market, then you're going to need more embeds, but you're also going to need more of the other signals that help a video to rank. And what I've found is these user signals, like traffic, click-throughs, watch time, or dwell time, dwell on site time, that sort of thing. All of those are also huge for video ranking now. So what I like to do is I like to do everything in stages, as I mentioned earlier. When I send a video out initially across my networks, I like to let it sit for about 2 weeks. Then once it's settled in after about 2 weeks, I usually can make a determination then as to what I need to do next. And then, like I said, I like to use the crowd search stuff. I like to do referral traffic campaigns now because I know it works. Also, social embeds. Social embeds are really, really important. So that's like tweets and retweets, pins and repins. Tumblr reblogs, that works really well, and not a lot of people do that, but Tumblr reblogs also count as additional embeds. All of that works really well. Okay. So, and then again, I just like to try to keep everything, guys. I always like to stretch it out. Like I don't plan on ranking videos in a day anymore. Like I usually, if I'm going after a market where there's any level of competition, I expect it to take a good 30 days before my video ranks. Sometimes I get it done in a day or two, or sometimes it takes a week. But I look at it when I go into a new campaign or a new project. I look at it as saying, okay, it's going to take me 30 days to rank this video. Because I like to test things, and I like to try to rank it doing as little as possible so that if I need more, I still have more available. Instead of coming out guns blazing, full speed ahead, like right out of the gate, like I'm just going to throw everything I have at it, because then you could have ranked it with a lot less, and what do you have left at your disposal at that point in case it doesn't rank? So, okay, next one.
That is it. We are wrapped up for the day.
All right, we're done.
Oh, real quick, Ed, I saw your question. What's a Tumblr reblog? That's just like getting a retweet, but it's on Tumblr when somebody reposts your content.
Yeah, and every single place that a reblog is just like it's like a retweet, yeah, or a share. It's a Tumblr to Tumblr share, and when somebody reblogs your stuff, it creates another embed, and so that's a great way to push page authority to a Tumblr site as well, to a specific Tumblr post. And here, I'll even go so far as to share the guy that I use. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Let's try this one. I'll share the guy that I use for reblogs. His name is Keek Monster, Keek Monster. And let me just grab this URL real quick, because this guy does really. He's the only guy I've ever found that was able to do consistently good reblog gigs. And this is him here. His name is Keek Monster. I'm going to grab this URL and share this.
Don't share all the pins on the free webinar.
Yeah, well, this is a Fiverr gig. This guy does good work, so hit him up. Tell him Loon Lips sent you, because that's my that's my username for Fiverr. It's a long story. We don't have time for it right now.
All right. Well, just to reiterate, everybody, the sale is going to be going through Monday, or ends Monday. So by all means, go check it out. If you've been holding back on some of the courses or something like that, now's a very good time. I guarantee you it's not going to be this low again for a while. Also, if you're interested in coming down to Costa Rica, which I hope you are, because we've got some pretty interesting people, I'll just say, so far, who are going to get signed up, and then as well as the people who are going to be doing the training, aside from all 5 of us. So it's going to be an awesome time. Be a good time to head down there in late February. Check out the link, and you can see the exact dates and what we're going to be covering.
Yeah. I'm going to answer this real quick, too, and then we'll close. Sorry, guys, but Keith asks, understand the point on depends, but what number of embeds would you start at? Okay, great question, Keith, and so I apologize if I glossed over that. I always start off with just what I have built out for my particular channel, my own IFTTT networks, which are juiced to where they're overflowing, if that makes sense. Like, I hammer the shit out of my networks, guys, with links. I just do it all the time. So if we got, like, for example, I usually don't even play around in a niche until I have at least one full 2-tier network built, and at least the tier 1 ring powered up with additional links, where I send it over to my link building team. They build the same service that we offer to you guys. It's the exact same one that we use. Okay. A lot of the times, a lot of the networks that I play in, or the industries or niches that I play in often, that I do a lot of business in, I'll have 3 or 4 or 5 full 2-tier networks connected to my channel. So if a full 2-tier network gives you 80 properties, 80 backlinks and/or embeds, social signals, bookmarks, blah blah blah, and that's on the low end. It's usually around 88, but let's say 80. Let's say then that's going to be 80. So where would I start? I'd start with just that, and then I would measure accordingly and add additional services as needed. If you find that you're not getting the results from the initial upload that you would like, add another full 2-tier network. That's another 80 properties. Now you're looking at 160 properties every time you upload a video. You got to add a third one. That's 240 properties. Fourth one, you get the point. You can all do math. But if you get to the point where you're doing like 5 full 2-tier networks attached to one YouTube channel, that's 400 properties that video is getting syndicated to with each upload. Okay, so now you can see very quickly you can build these great big networks using just IFTTT stuff. So, and then obviously if you need additional push, that's where using the supplemental stuff comes in. Okay. All right, cool. That was it. So everybody, thanks for being here for Thanksgiving Hump Day Hangouts. We appreciate that. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe in your travels, all that kind of stuff. And thanks, Adam, Chris, and Marco.
Awesome. Have a good holiday, everyone.
What, did Hernan cut out on us?
Yeah, he said he had to take off. He said he didn't like us anymore and left. So.
Take care, everyone. Have a great holiday.
I know what it was. Wayne didn't meme him today, so he was offended that he didn't get memed. So. All right, guys. We'll see you all next week. Thanks for being here.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.